Picks and Bets show here on the Mayo Media Network. As always, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to go through Thursday's night of action. DJ, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I decided to wear my ugliest jersey tonight for the ugliest team in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres. If you are blinded by the bright yellow Turdberger jersey, I will remind you that they did actually wear these in games. I'll give you a full effect for the viewers. Everyone go check it out. If you don't remember the ugliest jerseys ever conjured up, you can go on YouTube and check us out on YouTube on the Mayo Media Network. Hit the subscribe button. It's worth it to remember how ugly these were. I wanted to get a Cody Hodgson or someone really prolifically bad. I got Ryan Miller, who was traded halfway through the year as the Sabres completely decided to trade any goalie that won a game. So I am terrible as far as Sabres, but we're not here to talk about the Sabres because they're terrible. We're here to talk about all 9 games that are going to be played. It would have been 10. Unfortunately, the game in Dallas is not going to play. So Matt, how are you doing? Anything you want to say before we get started?
Yeah, no, I'm doing okay. The Red Wings stole a lot of money from me on Wednesday night, so we'll get into things. But first, I just wanted to mention Prize Picks real quick. Unfortunately, as of recording, we don't have the Prize Picks available at this exact moment. However, our friends over at prizepicks.com, they have an awesome website. Make sure you use code MMN when you're signing up. Essentially, what you are doing is you are creating entries based on, picking the over or picking the under on various fantasy scores. So even though we don't have hockey right now, you can go over there. You can look at the Counter-Strike, our boy Zywoo over there. You can bet the over on Zywoo. You can mix that up with maybe an NBA pick. I'm not an NBA guy. I don't really know much about what goes on over there. You could also mix it up with some tennis, some golf. There's a ton of opportunity for you on Thursday. And yeah, you pick up the 5 selections, and if they all hit, you can get up to 10 times your money. So make sure you check out prizepicks.com for, all of your cross sport par, type bets entries.
Yeah, and also check us out on the Mayo Media Network Twitter. We'll be posting ours tomorrow for that, so if you want to check those out. We could get right into it, though, if you're ready, Matt. We'll get into the 9 games of action, starting with New Jersey at Boston, if you're ready.
Yeah, of course. I'm just looking over at DraftKings and FanDuel Sportsbook to just, figure out my 9-game parlay here. So,
oh, yeah. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we don't have odds right now for all of the player props on DraftKings, so we're going to primarily focus on the FanDuel ones. Hopefully, some of them cross over to the other side. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to us personally on Twitter if you want to get some more information from us. I know I've been posting a lot of mine, and people have been liking them. I was 1 off from a nice big parlay hit on Tuesday, so hopefully to get that back on Thursday with a big one. So, Matt, are you ready to get after this New Jersey-Boston game?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Boston at minus 235 here. Pretty large favorite here for this Boston side. We just saw New Jersey, the only team basically to come off of the COVID list or, COVID pause, let's say, and actually look like a functioning NHL team. Buffalo and Minnesota completely, wet the bed for us. New Jersey looked pretty good though. So I find that almost immediately plus 195 on New Jersey to be mildly intriguing. So far this year, they're 5-3-2, definitely looking, okay. So I don't know, Deej, what are your thoughts on that and this game in general?
I think I'm personally a little bit favoring the under. I'm not sold on it yet. I don't really like the idea of New Jersey repeating this line 3 magic they got last game with guys like is it Nick Merkley, right? And
Sure.
Kakinen or that Kukinainen. I have no idea who this guy is. With the 3 points, I just don't really see them finding that secondary scoring against Boston quite as well. I think Boston just has a little more depth than the Rangers, and they'll find a way to shut down these guys I've never heard of. I think that overall, I'd like this game to be more of like your 3-1, 4-1 type of game, 4 goals. And I think Boston probably wins it, but I do think it's intriguing. I mean, it's such a huge spread for to take the Devils that it's not the worst thing you could do in the world. I think they're a bit better than meets the eye, but I'm not going to bet the house on it by any stretch. So I do agree more often than not in this game. I'm just kind of looking at some of these props for Boston. I think my favorite one over on FanDuel right now is what we got is the Bergeron 1 point. He has to hit the 1 point to push, but it's plus 120. So if he does get 2 points, it's positive value. If he gets one, at least it pushes for you and you're not like up, you're out the whole parlay if you make one. Matt, is there anything you like here from a player prop perspective?
Yeah, I was thinking of Jack Hughes if he's plus 118. That seems pretty solid. Like he's playing with Jesper Bratt and Andreas Janssen at 5-on-5. I like both those guys okay. Most notably on daily fantasy, DraftKings specifically, those guys are each 2.5K. Like,
Yeah.
it's very good value there. Bratt is also on the top power play unit there. So, I don't really love like his betting odds or anything, but Brad, especially over on DraftKings, is a great way to open up a lot of salary. Ways to play guys like Ovechkin and Austin Matthews and the other top tier plays we'll get to, including Pasternak and Bergeron, like you mentioned. So one other area I wanted to point out was Pasta down on the second line with Nick Ritchie and David Krejci. The top power play there. Now Charlie McAvoy will be manning the top unit. So it's just a little bit of tinkering going on in Boston. You can certainly stack all three of the top big guns. Power play, they could get there. They could absolutely play together at 5-on-5. But I really prefer to try and work in like Nick Ritchie and Pasta and make it work that way. So before we get to the Rangers at Philadelphia, anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I mean, I do think that Nick Ritchie's actually been very, very good. I'm not sure if I'm going to include a goal prop, but he has been shooting a ton. I was kind of hoping we could get some hugely inflated power play odds, but he's not even on there. So we can get over to the Rangers at Flyers. This is a 6 over under as of recording. Kind of closer to favoring the Flyers, but also kind of a pick 'em. Flyers first game back. As we mentioned, it's kind of seemed to be the case that teams have been pretty slow coming back. The Flyers are potentially without a ton of guys, though. We'll kind of get to that, but there's some players that I've never heard of, and normally I'm pretty good at hearing of most players that come into the league, but the Flyers are really pushing the envelope. They're going to be really relying heavily on their top two lines, but we're going to get to all that. We'll break down the power play in just a moment. Is there any other news and notes before we get cracking on kind of really going over the Flyers, just so everyone has all the news?
Panarin sounds like he'll be back for the Rangers, so expect him to sort of play in his normal line. Mm-hmm. And also K'Andre Miller. So basically, they lost Jake Trouba though, so kind of a 1-for-1 deal there. Opens up a ton of minutes and slight opportunity for some of those lower defensemen, but mostly just makes them slightly worse defensively. Even though I'd argue Jacob Trouba is not the best player in the world. I don't think he's a very good defenseman, but he's certainly serviceable, which is not the case for, say, Jack Johnson. So that's just something that we'll need to keep in mind. Tell me about the Flyers, though, because, some of the big names like Konechny and Giroux are still on the COVID list, right?
Yes, correct. So correctly, Giroux, Voracek also on the COVID list means that the first line is going to be JVR, who has been red hot. I'm a huge fan of him tonight on all kind of platforms and any way you want to bet. Terrier and Farabee are the top line. They're also all correlated on the first power play. The first power play, like I said, JVR, Terrier, Farabee, Nolan Patrick, and Gustafsson rounding out that first power play, which is a little bit weird. I'm not super high on Gustafsson as a kind of a shooter on that unit, but he is cheap enough on DraftKings and FanDuel to play within stacks. And then we have line two with Raffle, Hayes, and Abu Kobin. How do you say his name again?
Abe Kubel.
Yes, Abe Kubel. I was literally like, all they wrote is NAK, and I was like, oh my god, I can't even like try to say his name right now. So that is just like a shutdown line. It seems like very weird way to put it together, but fair enough. After that, it gets very strange. Samuel Morin is on the fourth line wing. Normally a defenseman, but as Matt mentioned on the last show, on the other show we recorded, he is actually converting to a forward. But it really seems like the offense is going to drive through that first line. So some of these player props that you're going to get for Philly, if you're going to take them, I think it's going to be this top line is just kind of far and away where you're going to want to go with it. So Matt, anything you want to get to in this game?
Um, yeah, I mean, I really like the over here. Sort of the same mindset I had on Tuesday. Like, uh, Zibanejad didn't even have the score for that game to hit the over. But one of these days, like Zibanejad's going to score goals. Defensively, both these teams, I don't think are at their peak right now. It's fair to say. And yeah, I mean, just the pace of the Rangers have been playing at is, very high. Pucks are going to start going in the net. So the over under right now is listed as a 6. I really like the over there. I think this has a pace comparable to, Toronto, Ottawa, if not quite as lopsided. So give me the over in this game just in general. And I like a lot of the pieces, as well, because they're cheap. You can get good value, both in betting and, on player props. So let's see. At this current moment, we don't have this Zibanejad. So we have Zibanejad. We don't have the Flyers shot odds though. If we get
Yeah,
JVR there, like I will really,
and yeah,
I don't think it'll be high enough.
Price out of consideration for me to have that in as one of my favorite on the for any parlay in the night.
Yep.
If you get power play points, like I said, if you are gonna play one of the, I don't think we have the Flyers. Oh, we have a couple of the Flyers. Wow, they only have like 2 guys that aren't even on the first unit. Wonderful. So
I don't even have them. I'm in PA, so I can't even see them.
Fair enough. Yeah, they're really missing. I mean, both sites just seemingly like don't have anything right now, which is a little frustrating to record. But
we're recording this at like 11:30 on the East. It's not like we're recording at like 6 o'clock the day before. Like, come on, guys.
What's going on? There's just nothing here. Okay, I think just a couple. I was kind of touting Zibanejad kind of getting off the Stein and getting some points in this game, maybe a goal. He is plus 182, which isn't great to get a goal, but I think against this really banged up or, not COVID ridden Flyers team, him to score is, I think, a decent bet to take. I also really like the Adam Fox point bet. Plus 108. I think, the Rangers could find some goals here. And I think that those are the guys who are going to get it through with Panarin involved as well.
Okay. So let's go from there over to the Islanders at Pittsburgh. The Islanders fresh off of, suffocating the Sabres here. And Pittsburgh fresh off of, kind of dead loss to the Caps as well. So, yeah, Pittsburgh right now is currently listed as a favorite. They're at home, so maybe that's part of it. But it's really hard to watch the last week or so of both these teams and think that the Islanders aren't at least a good value here. On the season, they're kind of an insane 11-4 against the spread, and Pittsburgh is 2-12. Pittsburgh has not won games by more than a goal, basically. So, yeah, I mean, the Islanders sort of strike me as like an immediate value. DJ, any counter thoughts to that?
No, I think that I totally agree with that. I think this matchup just sets up well for them. The Penguins struggle in goal. I think that helps the Islanders. If they can get up early and kind of shut down as best they can these Penguins' top 2 lines, then they should have a pretty good kind of path to winning in this game. The offense has really gone through Anders Lee from Barzal. Barzal did lose his 9-game point streak last game against the Sabres, even in the win. So, he'll be back out there firing. Anders Lee to score is plus 235, which doesn't really seem right for the guy. They're clearly trying to get the puck in scoring opportunities. Plus 104 to have a point. Stuff like that. Like, he's just been the focal point of the offense. Doesn't have the shot prop odd right now that I'm seeing. Do you see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing 3 plus 108, which
okay. Maybe I've got to refresh the page because it just has locks.
I'm also seeing Rust though at minus 108 for over 2.5, and I think Rust is really solid.
They do not want to price that correctly.
And
I'm okay with it.
Even in one of the absolute worst games that the Penguins have played all year, he still hit 4 shots. Top power play, top line. Brian Rust, like when you get a shot prop, you just bet the over, apparently. Basically the moneymaker so far this year.
Are you over, under? Any thoughts on that? I mean, I think it sets up to be an under, but it's not a lock by any stretch.
Yeah, I mean, because I like the Islanders, I'm sort of siding with the under because, they're a team that absolutely just puts the clamp on a game as soon as they get a lead. They just do not, they don't let anything happen. However, if Pittsburgh gets up early, you could definitely see some fireworks, and the Islanders who have the firepower to make this an over. So maybe something like betting a first period over might be a bit better than the full game. If you think that the game sort of goes off, I think it goes off early versus going off late. So that's just one of the main thoughts I had about that game.
All right. Yeah, I think we covered that one pretty well then. Let's get over to Nashville at Columbus. Are you ready?
Yeah, we can get into that one. So Columbus at home, -130 favorite here against Nashville. Nashville is not playing very good hockey, if you ask me. And Columbus, they have that top line that's clicking, but they haven't really been playing at their peak either. So kind of two teams that maybe have a little bit left to offer. Do you have a lean toward one of these sides?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think it's a bit of a toss-up. I do like Columbus a little bit in this matchup. It's not very strong. I would like to see a little bit more from them, but their top line has been clicking, and they just haven't really found the secondary scoring to go along with it. If that does come to fruition, they should find a way to win. Last game for I mean, really every game for the Predators lately has kind of been the same story of just not finding goals, and they're creating opportunities the best they can, but not quite getting it done. And and the goaltending has been suspect at best. I slightly like Columbus. I like the under an okay bit. I'm not super high on it either, but I think that's kind of where I'm initially leaning right now.
Yeah, both these teams are definitely outperforming their, I would
Yeah.
say offensively for the Columbus and Nashville sort of giving up way more than they should be based on, just how their defense is playing. Um, so, it's a tough place to bet an under because of that. But honestly, that's sort of where my head's telling me. Like, I just the expected goals are just not there for either side. And yeah, you have shooting talents like Forsberg and Patrick Laine and even Cam Atkinson's, on a bit of a roll here. So maybe if you want to keep it going, something like Cam Atkinson first goal, our boy Chris Meany, I think had that on Tuesday
Yeah,
as
I
part of
know.
his, or was it Monday? I think it was Monday. Part of
Monday.
his super parlay that almost hit.
Mhm.
I think that's solid. But my lean is mostly toward the under and then toward any of the Nashville defensive guys. So if we get a Roman Yossi shot prop, I really like him. A lot of their offense just flows through him,
Yeah.
and also
DraftKings does have the props now for this game. Norman
perfect.
Yossi 3.5 plus 115. I think that's pretty fair. I like him in that kind of a range in this game. I think they're going to definitely try to be feeding him. Line A over 2.5 at mine 134 seems maybe good.
Yeah, it's weird because
He's
he's
kind of
not a volume guy, but he's
I
such a
know.
lethal shooter. It's like,
Yeah, why? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I think that, the Yossi, he is, I think 50-50 on three or four. Like that seems really likely for him. He's also minus 134 for just a point, 1 point. That seems pretty good to take as well. They haven't really priced that out of consideration. It's like most of these guys are, not super juiced to get not get a point at all.
yeah,
So I like that a good bit.
for sure. And would be remiss to note Seth Jones sort of being the guy here on their top power play. With Line getting so much attention, 5-1 odds on him to score, and 5-1 odds on Ryan Ellis to score. If you're trying to get crazy, both of those guys, I think, maybe side Ryan Ellis slightly, but both those guys are just good shots from the point. This game should have a decent number of power plays in it based on Nashville's play so far this season. So anything else here?
Now let's get over to the first 6.5 total of the slate. We have Ottawa at Toronto after a pretty big dud on Wednesday night.
Major,
It
yeah.
was major dud, if you will. Austin Matthews got his normal goal in this game. He gets one of those every game, it seems like, against Ottawa, but didn't really do a whole lot. The Mitch Marner one shot on goal game was not optimal for most people. And Brady the Chuck had a million shots on net and a goal, which was very cool. But we'll take a look at this one, looking at it, new slate, new day. Is there anything that stands out here? Are you a fan of kind of going back to the 6.5 over under and saying like maybe there's more here? I mean, I think both of these teams have pretty good projections to score, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what I know is that even though this game was a letdown on Wednesday night, people will be going right back to it. Matthews, Marner, Tavares. I would be a little surprised if the Kachuk Norris line didn't get a little bit of buzz coming in, because we didn't really expect Norris to be on the top power play, but there he was. So Norris and Kachuk, I think I just really like both those players. And whenever Josh Norris is on the top power play unit, I'm looking to fire with him. So as far as betting is concerned, I'm not sure I want to go back to the betting in over 6.5. Obviously, condolences to anyone who had that on Wednesday, but it's just sort of an area where I think I just want to take some of these player props. Brady Kachuk's shots, I think he's in line for another big game there, like you were mentioning. But in general, not a ton that I think stands out, just because Matthews is priced so aggressively and accurately.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one goal prop that stands out a little bit, I'm not sure if I ended up taking it or not, but Tim Stutzel to have a goal plus 425, that just doesn't seem entirely correct.
Yeah, I would be jamming that, but he was the guy who got taken off of the top power play in favor of Norris. So it's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah,
it creates a lot of value for Norris. Maybe you just grab him at plus 335. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah,
I kind
that's
of,
fair. That's
I
fair.
kind of just want to wait. Maybe he gets a FanDuel prop and we can, jam shots on him, because he and Kachuk are both very good rate shooters.
Mhm.
So if he's at a lower number than Kachuk, I think that offers value, along with Brady's number that we already know, sort of offers up some value as well. So,
Sure. Those
um,
might be a little bit safer. I mean, they're definitely safer, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that I'm gonna consider just going to one of these like 2 point props as well. Mitch Marner and Matthews plus 135. Like I think if you're like in the over here, you could go back to either of those. If you had to pick one of a player to have 2 points, is there one you like more than the other?
I mean, that's a good question, because I don't, I probably would go Marner, honestly.
Yeah.
Just he's the passer. Matthews is fantastic, but I sort of want to buy on Marner, especially if, on daily fantasy sites, he'll be way under owned, just because
Yeah.
he's 8.3 on DraftKings, kind of a ridiculous price. But for that very reason, he might be a good GPP play. And that, he's a point accumulator. So I sort of lean toward him. I just wanted to mention one thing on their top power play. They had Boyd there. The
Mhm.
problem is, though, is that in the bottom six, they just don't play. So, he was out there on the power play, but he played 8 minutes in this one. Um, it,
Good.
like, that's really tough to swallow for me. So I just sort of really want to stick to some of the high end plays in this game, and then use, value elsewhere, like in other games, like for daily fantasy purposes. So I thought that was interesting, because you might expect a power play one, line three guy to you know play more than 8 minutes, but nope, that's not the way Toronto operates.
You really would. Are you ready to get over to the terrible Sabres against the Capitals game?
Yeah, how do you feel about the Buffalo Sabres at plus 148 here against the Capitals on the road, DJ?
I mean, I'm just looking to what the prop is on the goalie for Washington to have the shutout and just jamming, putting a second mortgage on it. Yes, the Sabres have broken me. I probably won't bet on this game in reality at all. Maybe I'll consider one of these shot lines just because there's a lot of like plus value here, but I don't know. OV over 4.5 seems like something that I might consider because I think the Sabres are going to give up a ton of Corsi against, and Ovechkin should be a beneficiary. But other than that, I think I've retired from being a Sabres fan and better, because I think that I'm now so negative against them that I'm just going to be like putting Ovechkin to score a hat trick and saying like, oh man, like he only scored 5 goals. I don't know if I still get paid for that, but yeah, it's tough times in Buffalo. It's been tough for a little over a decade now. So why don't we continue it tonight with the Sabres probably losing? I don't give them a ton of, credit here to get the win in Washington, but I guess anything could happen. Um, Washington minus 175 seems fair. I honestly do like this game, though. In reality, I do like this game a lot to be high scoring. The 6.5 is not what I was hoping for. I saw it at 6 at one point, went up to 6.5. So not my favorite. I was kind of hoping to get it at 5.5, 6, but I think it's still fair at 6.5. I do think there'll be a decent number of a lot of Corsi in this game and a lot of the chances to get that 6.5. So Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, both these teams have been playing with tempo. It's just that the Sabres have not been converting their chances. It's
No.
very similar to the Rangers situation. However, for the Rangers, we are seeing, these guys being priced down. We saw Zibanejad, he was plus 180 to score a goal, like Eichel's plus 140. And Zibanejad shooting more. I like Zibanejad's matchup a bit better. So, I don't think the value's quite there on the Sabres, but, being non-homer, what's the opposite of a homer at this point, but putting on putting on the glasses, sort of digging in a bit, shows you that this team's going to bounce out of it. Maybe not in this spot though, because I do think the Caps are playing pretty well. Vanacek looked rock solid on Tuesday. So, it's just an area where I think you just grab some of the key values that you just tend to grab with the Caps. Ovi being at the premier among those. TJ Oshie, when you can find him, playing with Ovechkin at 5-on-5 and the power play. I like him to pick up a point where you can find that. And yeah, I think that was all I had from this one.
I mean, Ovi's plus 100 on FanDuel for a goal, and Eichel is plus 175, 178 for a goal. I think, you get those guys that are going to see over 20 minutes a night in a 6.5 over under that are kind of the best players on each team. And I think that's worth, considering at the very least.
Does Olofsson have a power play prop there, or can you not?
Oh, I can see it. I can see anything. Olofsson does. He is plus 178 for a point.
Okay, because
that's that's his job. That's his life.
That's a power play point, right?
That is a power play point.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say, oh my God, for a point.
Yeah, that's a power play point.
Okay, yeah. So Olofsson's been getting the puck a ton on the power play. Honestly, it runs through him almost as much as it does Eichel or Dahlin. So I like that value a lot. He's just very gifted offensively. He's not the best
Sabres
skater.
Power play has been good.
Yeah, it's been clicking for sure. So
it's so sad how bad they are because the power play's been good and they still. I mean, they're 5-on-5. It's just I can't even think like Bozo the Clown or I don't know.
All right. So before DJ just gets up and walks out of the room, let's move on from that game over to San Jose at St. Louis. St. Louis minus 200 here. San Jose sounds like they'll get Erik Karlsson back. Yeah, so St. Louis at minus 200. Also over under of 6. I kind of am digging the under, just right off the bat there. This feels like a 5.5 type game. The Sharks will maybe try to push the pace, especially when Burns is out there. But St. Louis, coming off of basically 2.5 weeks of just playing Arizona over and over and over again, I think will relish the opportunity to, not have to play Arizona, who has looked very good to this point, especially that top line, but we'll get to them. So anything in St. Louis worth pouncing on here? Or do you like their money line?
I mean, I definitely, right now, if just pulling up the DraftKings book, it is at 6. And I do think under on 6 is very fair. I think that was the odds you said. Yeah, it's under on 6. Yep. I think is pretty sharp. I like St. Louis, but if it's going to be minus 200, I just feel like you could just find a better bet in this game to parlay and not really take all that negative equity that you're going to get there. It's, I like them to win, but it's not anything that I'm, a couple bounces either way could stop. The one interesting note in this game, well, I guess not interesting. The first part of it sad is that Schwartz should not be in. The coach said he was getting closer, but not ready. Bozak out a little bit longer term. Their first power play was, I don't know, weird, I guess would be the way to put it. Not what you maybe would expect. It was Falk, Perron, Hoffman, O'Reilly, and Sundqvist. Sundqvist, though, not that, well, at least not confirmed in a top 6 role, hurts his value a little bit, but he's super cheap on both sites as far as DFS is concerned. I really like Falk a lot. I like Hoffman okay too. I think if you get him at odds for a point, you might want to look at it. It's minus 126 over on FanDuel, which isn't great. I don't know if it's, anything close to a lock to get a point, especially when you could maybe just find something a little bit better than that. Matt, is there any initial lean? Are you looking at a Perron shot total as we often do, or what do you look
Yeah,
at?
it's a slate with David Perron on it, plus 100
He's
on
listed
over
twice in a
two and a
row, though, I
half.
think.
Yeah, he has. Playing with Hoffman on the power play, I think does draw some, they just want to feed Hoffman slightly more. Also, Justin Falk is a bit more of a shooter than Torrey Krug has been, historically. So there are a couple reasons for that. So maybe you look towards someone on the Sharks. Unfortunately, you don't get a Vander Kane because the thing I was going to mention is if Carlson is out, Evander Kane's actually like the direct beneficiary of that because he goes on to that top power play. And Evander Kane goes from, 18 to 19 minutes power play 2 to 20 to 21 minutes power play 1. And we know Evander Kane's rates are just insane. So, I really like that if he's out, but that's not one of the guys offered on the DK Sportsbook. So, not quite there.
No,
One interesting note is that Mike Hoffman on daily fantasy sites is like I think he's 4.6 on DraftKings, and Jordan Kyrou is like 4.7. Hoffman is playing the Jaden Schwartz role basically on the top line and the top power play. Plus 163 to score, like just really good odds, and he's just mispriced in daily fantasy. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about some of this at the end, but I really like a lot of value plays at wing and spending up at the other positions. So, and Hoffman is just one of the main guys who sort of does that for me.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that take. I think that, on FanDuel, if you want to get a little bit weird with those power play points, you can get Hoffman at plus 210 for a power play point. I think that could be pretty fun. He's on the first unit, as I mentioned.
That's a good number.
That's a pretty good number to take.
Okay.
So is there anything else you want to mention, or LA and Arizona time?
No, it's LA Arizona time, baby. So it's Arizona time. At home, minus 159. The over-under is 5.5. So the over-under doesn't really interest me that much. The Kings are the Kings. They looked fast against Minnesota. I will say that much. They have a lot of young guys who can really skate. They introduced Matt Roy back into the lineup, so he returned from injury. Just so are some things to like about the Kings here, but man, I think there's a lot more to like about this Arizona team. They've been playing some weird off hours on the weekends, and games of the Blues in general aren't necessarily must-watch events. But if you watch them play, man, Connor Garland is on another freaking level. He is so good.
Yeah.
That top line has been playing very well. In addition, playing with Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, their top line, their top power play, they get Jacob Chikrin. So I think the money line here, I just don't think the Kings can stop them. And, I really like them in daily fantasy. I like betting their shot props. Like, just give me everything Arizona first line on Thursday night.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to have Connor Garland in my bet slip in some capacity. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. I think he's a really, really good value on this slate. On DraftKings Sportsbook, we're just not getting much of anything outside of the goal prop, which is really annoying because I was thinking like 2-point Garland or at least 1-point Garland could be just like the safe way of going about this. So you'll have to go over to FanDuel if you like Garland as much as me to try to get in one of those bets.
If you are betting Phil Kessel at this point, like, please at me on Twitter at Fake Moods and just let me know like why.
Yeah.
Even not betting over or under or whatever, but just like Phil Kessel in general, like he just seems like he has name brand, I guess, but like he's not that fun to watch. It's not like he's it's just crazy. Like why not get the actual best player on Arizona in there? But that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, getting a little bit off brand, Jacob Chikrin to have a point plus 112. Can you see the shot props for them? I'm not sure if it's not loading for me, but Connor Garland has one. I just nothing showing up. That's going to be my one of my best of the night right there, as long as it's not terrible. So if you pull that up,
I can promise you it's not terrible because it's always a very good value. So
is it
um,
above 7? No, I was kidding. No,
but yeah, I will work on getting that up. I don't have it
yep,
currently,
just
but
me neither. Nothing showing up. I don't know why these props hate us tonight. It's almost midnight. Put them up. But okay, yeah, we can. Yeah, I mean, so Matt, your guaranteed prop of the night is Phil Kessel plus 3 points at 130, 1,300. I mean,
yeah,
mine I'll get to with the Garland news, but yeah.
yeah,
Is
we
there anything else in this game?
it's currently
Oh, sorry.
locked, so we do not know.
Oh
Yeah,
my God! Wow.
my favorite bet though might honestly be this money line for Arizona. I
Yeah,
do not get why they are only minus 160 here. This
yeah.
feels like a Blues Sharks type game to me, and they're minus 200. So, you know, uh, that's my lean. Unless we get something wild on Connor Garland, obviously, but I don't expect it'll be that crazy. So I just like this Arizona team in general. They look fast, they look skilled. Seems like if their top line can score, they have no problems defensively. So yeah, just I think good things all around on that Arizona money line here. All right,
All
one
right,
more game.
then. Yep,
Uh,
one more game. We're going to finish it off with Minnesota at Anaheim. I was absolutely tilting the Fiala no point. He had the wraparound attempt that I really thought was going to go in. He had a couple great passes over to Kaprizov, only one shot on net. Very disappointing. I was very high on Fiala. What are you going to do? You live and you learn. But this game against Anaheim, who's been pretty bad. First off, I think my first note would be I do like the under here. I'm not really that interested. In either of these teams scoring more than 3 goals. I think that Gibson will be in net. That's going to kind of diminish Minnesota's upside a bit. I do like Minnesota in this game. I think Anaheim is just actually not good. But Matt, what do you think initially looking at this game?
I think it's slow. Minnesota, without Spurgeon, without a lot of regulars in their lineup, honestly, was just really either unwilling or unable to generate any sort of tempo in that game without Fiala Kaprizov on the ice. And those guys currently are not skating together based on some lines we saw on Wednesday. So it's only a 5.5, but I still like the under there. I like the goalies in DFS. For some reason, they're both actually very cheap. I think Gibson gets you like 7.5 and Kakinen is 7.7 or 7.8 on DraftKings. Like very good, just solid prices on goalies who should see a decent number of shots without a ton of quality to them. Um, so that's really my first thought, and that thought sort of informs the rest of this game. Like, maybe just stay away. Let Fiala show it before I go back
Yeah.
to betting him. I still do think there's some value on Minnesota money line. Like, they're not great, but they're better than the Ducks. So,
Proven.
I mean, maybe that's right. But
No, I'm just kidding.
Minnesota minus 129, that's just a shade over a coin flip. And I think Minnesota wins this game more times than not. So I still think that's decent value.
Yeah. I think, the Dumba plus 540 goal prop isn't the worst thing in the world. We didn't get him on the first power play last game, which does hurt his upside, but I think they'll definitely be considering some changes, considering they didn't score a single goal in the game. I'm hopeful that he gets back up to that first unit rather than Ryan Suter or maybe even Jordan Greenway, who was frustrating me all night. If he gets back on that first unit, Spurgeon's not playing. He had like 3 shots in the first period, then he just kind of faded away as they kind of got shut down a bit. I think that he is a guy that definitely has goal upside. The interesting kind of, new oncomer in the game was Kalen Addison. I'm not looking at him as really a bunch of a prop bet type of guy, but he's minimum salary on both sites. So he is a guy that did see power play 2 times. We don't know if that's going to stick. If Spurgeon comes back, he might not even play. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But he is a guy that we're going to definitely be considering in the future. He does kind of profile to be a decent DFS value in the future. As far as props are concerned, I'm not going to be going with too much. I don't think there's going to be a ton of goals here. So you're kind of more looking at the shot props. I'm somewhat interested in Fiala still at 2.5 minus 162. I do think that more often than not, he's going to put more pucks on net than 2. He did end up, kind of getting shut down. He had that wraparound attempt that didn't end up getting on net, or he would have had 2. And, you're kind of thinking, one more at any twist and turn. He definitely was heavily featured in their offense. I think that continues.
Their power play consists of give him the puck and let him skate until he decides to pass. Like they all literally, it's like an ISO for James Harden or something. They just clear out and they're like, all right, you go.
Yeah. So he is just far and away their most skilled player. I wouldn't say far and away, but he's definitely their most skilled player. They're just watching. He's awesome. So I'm hopeful for him to bounce back. But this game overall feels like a dud. I think one bet that I'm going to have a little bit of is the under in the first period. I think just going with that plus 320 on the under a goal in the first period is pretty fun. Just to jam that in. And I think that this game, if you like the under and you think, not having a goal in the first period is somewhat likely.
Unders all around for me too. So there's all the games. Do you want to recap with some of our favorite bets of the night?
Sure, absolutely. So we can start it off with I'm gonna have some sort of Connor Garland. I want to know what his shot prop is. As long as it's under, as long as I can get over on 3, I think I'm going to take it almost no matter what. It has to be really, really priced out of consideration. Unfortunately, like I said, we don't have it right now on FanDuel, but I will be betting it. I'm going to guess it's going to be somewhere around, if it's 3, right near the middle, kind of like a pick 'em.
My guess is 2.5 minus 125-ish. I think where it's at over the weekend.
That's where it's at last time. So if it gets to 3, it might be even better because you might get really good odds. If you can get that, I think that, you might want to consider it because I think he definitely is a Corsi guy that just maybe even hasn't seen his full potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of Garland and sort of rider to that. This Coyotes money line, I sort of laid out the case why I think it's more similar to the Blues in this situation. So I think you're, getting a lot of value on that line. Arizona money line at minus 150 at 9.
Yeah, definitely. I think the under on the Blues Sharks game is going to be one that I'm going to be maybe not hammering, but I think it's pretty much a pick 'em on that. And it may be a little bit favored to the under, but under 6, I think is decently likely. If the Sharks don't convert on their power play opportunities, I think they're pretty weak with the rest of their team outside of the top 6. And the Blues, missing Schwartz, missing Bozak, it just hurts them just enough maybe where they're having these kind of suboptimal top 6 players feed in that the Sharks can hopefully shut them down just enough. So I like that under.
All right. Anders Lee, over 2.5 shots, minus 139. Very, very good value there. Yep. I really like that. First line, first power play. Going against Pittsburgh, if they get down, they'll be shooting. If they're ahead, Anders Lee is probably the guy who gets them ahead. So I think he puts 3 pucks on that, 75% of the time here. Just silly odds for Anders Lee shot prop. All right, one more.
Well, one more. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 9 games. Might as well.
We've got 9 games. All right.
No worry.
My God, I was just pulling up the old DraftKings, but all right. I think, one of these Flyers, Rangers props, I slightly like the over in this game, but I'm not going to be too heavy on that. Like I said, I think we know well enough on the Flyers where the offense is going to derive from to where I would be considering that. If we get a few more props, I think, I'm going to be a little more interested.
We do have some over on DK Sportsbook, by the way.
We do now. Okay.
Yep.
Oh man, I forgot we didn't have that before.
Yeah. So
let me.
How about Sean Couturier 2 or more points at plus 300? Do you like that one?
Oh man, that one's. Matt, thanks for reading my mind. No, I definitely do. I mean, I really like. I mean, I could even get crazy with the JVR 2 goal. If you want to get absolutely nuts for plus 1,300, I don't think it's crazy likely, but I do like him a lot in this game. I'm saying the offense is going to be going through him. So let's get him.
Yeah,
Let's get one of those two.
this will not be my second, but or my third, I guess. But I also like the Zibanejad props, both
Yeah,
shots and points. Like I
I
just
like the
think that
shots a
he
lot.
offers a lot of value here too.
Over
For
3.5
my
seems like pretty likely. I like that.
yeah, for my third one, I'm gonna go with a Washington Capital to score. I know DJ will like this one. Jacob Vrana, like
Sure.
he's top line. Well, I guess Nick Backstrom top line center, but he's in the top six. He's also on that top power play, so plus 200 on Vrana. If you want to get crazy, Jacob Vrana first goal plus 1,300.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
I'm
I
getting a little
mean,
spicy with that. Vrana's just an electric player, so
yeah.
I like him a
Who's
lot.
more likely, Vrana first goal or JVR 2 goals? I mean, that's the same odds. I mean, great.
Yeah.
This is the Sophie's choice we've given you. All right, so let's get over to DraftKings really quick. Let's do a few of our favorite stacks. I'm going to try not to repeat the ones I did before. Listen to the Morning Skate podcast if you want a full breakdown of all of 9 games with position by position coverage, with even a little bit of goalie sprinkled in for you goalie people out there. I made Matt take some stances. So, Matt, with all of my talk, have you come up with a couple of your favorite stacks of the night?
Yeah, and by the way, on the goalie talk, I did talk about Minnesota Anaheim. I think whichever
Yeah.
side of that game you're on, both those goalies are great. So you are getting some extra bonus coverage of the daily fantasy slate from yours truly.
Way to give the
Um,
people what they want.
yeah, my first stack, I am going to go with just building around Nick Ritchie. I think playing with Pasta. I think that's very fun, and Nick Ritchie's just a great value. So give me Nick Ritchie, David Pasternak, and then Charlie McAvoy. McAvoy is actually one of the best like expected fantasy point output players over the last few weeks. And he's been good. He's blocking a ton of shots, but the offensive part hasn't really exploded yet for him. So with him back on that top power play, I think Boston goes very overlooked, just with how much attention I think Toronto gets. And I like the second line more than I like Bergeron Marchand, at this current construction.
Sure. So this is, I'm not trying to be that biased against the Sabres fan, but I think the OV Carlson stack is going to be way overlooked. I think you could obviously OV Carlson, and then Oshie would make the most logical sense from a construction standpoint. Verana, as you mentioned, gets a lot of that power play run on the first unit, so you could consider that. Or just do the 2-man. And I think there's better value in the middle, other than Oshie, which is why I think the 2-man unit makes a little more sense. You could kind of do the, OV Carlson, and then even get the stack you just mentioned, and still I think make it work if you get one of these bottom of the bin brat, if you will, on New Jersey. So yeah, I think you can make those work together even in tandem.
Yeah, another stack that I think is not overlooked at all, but appropriately,
Mhm.
just piled on will be Austin Matthews. Just stacking him with his power play mates. So Mitch Marner obviously has the most appeal, but Joe Thornton has looked okay in GPPs, especially. Joe
Yeah.
Thornton is definitely fine. A 3-point game from him obviously is insane. So Joe Thornton, one of the best passes of our generation, and also Morgan Riley. I don't think I'm going to Travis Boyd for reasons that discussed earlier, but just I think building around Matthews makes a lot of sense, and just the sort of also work off of that. There are so many cheap wings that you can play. You mentioned Brat DJ, but there's also Andreas Janssen,
Yep.
Anthony Beauvillier, 2.5 for him. And yeah, we listed like literally 5 or 6 of them over on the Morning Skate podcast. So just go through and listen to that, and you'll get yourself a lot of good value to fit in these high end stacks.
On the other side of the Flyers game, I do like the Rangers a lot, and I think Fox is going to be a focal point. I think that first line is easy to kind of put together with Zibanejad and Fox, and you could go Kreider. I'm not a huge fan of him. If you want to get way out there, or not even way out there, but if you want to get weird with it, Kako and Keandre Miller as a 2-man is incredibly cheap, power play 2 value. I think both of them just have been, they've been good, better than the price indicates. So if you end up spending way up on your Austin Matthews, your Mitch Marners, your Alex Ovechkins, and you need that savings, Capo Caco, 5 shots on goal in his last game out. If he does that again, he already absolutely smashes value. If he gets a point, he could really be the guy that could break the slate wide open for you. And power play 2 line mate Condre Miller is a guy that has, hit the blocks bonus. He's hit the shot bonus. So if he does either of those things at that price, if they both kind of work together in tandem, at 2.8 and 3.1, you could definitely get the top guys in that you need.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So, like we mentioned, more DFS talk over on the Morning Skate podcast. You can find that on Stitcher, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if we're not on your app, just let us know. We're always, looking for that to be where you need us. And also big thanks to Prize Picks for sponsoring this show here on the Mayo Media Network. Go over there, sign up using the code MMN. And lastly, for this show, go on YouTube, drop us a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment with your favorite bet or DFS stack or any questions. We love to get your questions in there. And anything else I'm missing, DJ?
No, I think that pretty much covers everything. Definitely follow the Mayo Media Network on Twitter. Follow me down here and follow Matt down over there. And follow Chris Meany. Make sure you're watching the show and listening to the show with him. And follow the Mayo Media Network on Twitter. And we'll be posting our favorite 2 Prize Pick player fantasy points that we like tomorrow.
So with all that said, thank you all for listening and best of luck on Thursday.